My mother and father, Lucille and Tony Jonjak, started the Cranberry Marsh in 1939, and now the person that's running it is the youngest of their children, Randy, and his wife, Jean. So now they are keeping the tradition going. But one thing they do differently is that they are organic now. When we started out, we weren't, though we did a lot of hand weeding, so we were largely organic even in the beginning, because that's just how we did things then.
Hey.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Okay.
My mother and father, Tony and Lucille, started this farm in 1939. So I'm just second generation here, but my father was 50 when I was born, so it's almost like spans 3 generations, you know, in the amount of time. But cranberries are a wetland plant, and that's why they were planted in peat bogs to begin with, because that's where they were found naturally. Some of their oldest vines here are planted in 1940. Harvest takes us about 2 weeks. And it's the most intensive period of the year, of course, but we got a 6 weeks in the spring that's a pretty hard rush, where you don't want anybody to be drinking even in their off time, because you're working a lot of the clock, and then the winter time is you're working on machinery. So there's not as much vacation time as a person would like to have. So there's not a planting season. You plant them one time and you're basically nurturing that crop, more like an orchard, except you can't even cultivate. In an orchard you could cultivate. In Wisconsin, the cranberry laws give us access to lake water. So we're pumping water from the lake. Some people use reservoir systems, some people use deep wells, but cranberries use so much water that it's best to have access to surface water. It's similar to, now in Minnesota there's no cranberry industry because there's no state law that gives the growers access to the water. The parallel would be, though, in the 60s, Minnesota decided to encourage wild rice farming, and they gave wild rice farmers access to the water. So they have a little wild rice industry in northern Minnesota, whereas we have a cranberry industry in Wisconsin.
I got wet. You can't even tell that there's cranberries here, but when you look up close, it's just like packed. They're good.
So I was looking for a way to stay prosperous on my old farm, and organic was the ticket. If people are willing to pay me a premium to grow the crop a certain way, then I'll grow the crop that way. We just recently, we've been converting some back to conventional. I'm trying to remember, I think this is our 6th organic harvest, and there's 3 transition years, so it's been 8 years that we've been under organic practices, and we're slowly fighting a losing battle with the weeds especially. It takes a toll on you, because there's sometimes when the bugs are eating the crop, and it's hard to go to sleep at night knowing the bugs are chewing, and there's just not much you can do about it. Some of the weeds just don't lend themselves to hand weeding, and people aren't used to working that way anymore, so it's hard to find the people to do it. To me, backbreaking means work you physically can't do. I'd say it's work that people aren't used to doing. They don't have the right mindset that I'm going to continue doing this boring job because it's important. And that's what my 15-year-old daughter is kicking, that she doesn't like to do it, and somebody's got to do it. It's the cranberries that support us, so somebody has to pull the weeds, and who better than you? And of course, there's no answer for that she can find that she likes, so she grudgingly goes out there and pulls weeds. My wife hasn't gotten the habit as much as I have, but she makes her own juice, which is pretty much a staple every day, and then I get used to eating the sauce with meat all the time, and the rest of the family hasn't picked up on that as much. And then the sweetened.
You just cook the cranberries down, or what?
Cook them with sugar, right? Cook them. It's just homemade cranberry sauce. You just boil the sugar. That's all there is to it. And but the sweet and dried is awful good in oatmeal, even better than raisins in oatmeal. So I'm getting where I'm eating a lot of it that way.
Cool.